So there's this traveler, an object from way out in interstellar space that's just swung into our solar system. Now, is it just some random rock passing through? Well, a really fascinating theory connects this object, 3I/Atlas, to this incredible, once-in-a-lifetime cosmic alignment that's about to happen. And it suggests its arrival is anything but a coincidence.
Right, let's meet our main character, 3I/Atlas. This thing is not from around here. I mean, it's traveled from a completely different star system to get to us. And it just had its closest flyby of our sun, a moment that this theory singles out as absolutely critical. A point where, maybe, its true nature and its purpose could finally be revealed.
Okay, so how does this whole theory fit together? Here's the game plan. We're going to start with our mysterious visitor and the 3 different paths it could take from here. Then we'll dive into this grand cosmic alignment it seems perfectly timed to join. After that, we'll connect the cosmic dots, and finally, look at what all this could mean. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's get a proper introduction to 3I/Atlas. You gotta understand, this isn't just your average comet or asteroid. This is a true interstellar object, a traveler between the stars. And its arrival right here, right now, is the spark for this entire theory.
So the theory really zeroes in on this one moment. This is when 3I/Atlas hit what's called its perihelion. That's its closest point to the sun. We're talking about a distance of 1.36 astronomical units, so about 1 1/3 times the distance from us to the sun. And this close pass? It's the perfect opportunity for this object to, well, maybe change its destiny.
So what happens after that close solar pass? This is where it gets really interesting. The theory doesn't just assume it's going to carry on like nothing happened. Instead, it lays out 3 very, very different scenarios for what 3I/Atlas might do next.
Okay, to really get 2 of these paths, we have to talk about something called the Oberth maneuver. Basically, it's the smartest way to change your course in space. Imagine you're on a swing. You kick your legs at the very bottom, at your fastest point, to go higher, right? It's kind of like that. You fire your engine when you're moving fastest, like when you're getting a gravity slingshot around the sun, and it massively boosts your thrust. You get a huge change in direction for way less fuel.
So here are the 3 possibilities on the table. First, the normal path. It does nothing, acts just like a regular old comet, and just keeps on going. Simple. Option 2 is the Earth detour. This would require a major engine burn, a big reverse thrust using that Oberth maneuver to swerve its path towards us. And then there's option 3, the Jupiter detour. This one, which the theory suggests is the most likely if this thing is artificial, would only need a slight engine burn to aim it towards the giant of our solar system, Jupiter, and its incredible system of moons.
But here is the real kicker. Even if 3I/Atlas does absolutely nothing, if it just follows that normal, boring path, its timing is still, well, just astonishing. It's arriving perfectly on cue to take part in an incredibly rare celestial event that's about to unfold right here in our own solar system.
Let's just look at the calendar here, because it's a wild couple of months. In late 2025, 3I/Atlas makes its closest pass to Earth. Then, just a few weeks later, in early January 2026, this huge planetary alignment just clicks into place, and it's at its absolute sharpest on January 9th. And right after that, in February, you get a great conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. It's just boom, 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 one major cosmic event after another.
So who's coming to this cosmic party? Well, you've got the inner planets, Mars, Venus, and Mercury, all lined up on one side of the sun. Then on the other side, you have us, Earth, and the big guy Jupiter. And yeah, our moon and our interstellar visitor, 3I/Atlas, are also right there in the mix, taking part in this incredible celestial lineup.
And this is where all those threads start to come together. This is where the theories suggest that the timing, the geometry, all of it might not be random at all.
Get this, if you draw a line, a vector, right through this planetary arrangement and extend it out into deep space, well, it doesn't just point to some random empty patch of sky, it points directly towards a very, very significant and meaningful region of our Milky Way galaxy.
So that line, that vector, points smack dab at the constellation of Sagittarius. And what's in Sagittarius? Well, for starters, it's the exact direction that 3I/Atlas seems to have come from. It's also the direction of the galactic center, the very heart of our galaxy. And to pile on one more layer of mystery, it's the same patch of sky where we detected that famous and still totally unexplained wow signal back in 1977. I mean, what are the odds?
And to kind of back up this idea that these big planetary alignments can actually be significant, the theory points to a historical parallel, the Carrington event of 1859. This was the most powerful solar storm ever recorded. And what happened right before it? A major planetary alignment. And the setup for the 2026 alignment looks strikingly similar.
So all of this data, all these connections, they all lead us right back to the central mystery at the very heart of this theory. What on earth does it all mean?
You know, the person who put all this research together doesn't even claim to have the answers. He ends not with some grand conclusion, but with a simple commitment, saying, "I don't know, but I will track this as closely as I can." It's a really honest admission that, for now, all any of us can really do is watch and see what happens.
So what are we left with? You've got a visitor from another star. It arrives at this critical decision point in its journey, just in time for a grand cosmic alignment that points to an incredibly meaningful place in our galaxy. Is all of that just a mind-blowing series of cosmic coincidences? Or, as this theory poses, could it be something more? That is the question we're left to wonder about.
Welcome to the debate. So the context for today's discussion, it really centers on this interstellar object, 3I Atlas. It's just past its perihelion, its closest point to the sun. And now it's moving into, well, a pretty critical phase. It's heading towards what the source material is calling a really unusual and precise planetary alignment that's set for early January 2026.
Right. And the question this raises, the real debate here, is about significance. What's really the most important aspect of this whole thing? Is it about what 3I Atlas itself might do, like this potential Oberth maneuver people are talking about, which could suggest, technology, intent? Or is the bigger story actually the planetary alignment itself, this really rare, powerful geometry that 3I Atlas just happens to be flying through?
Exactly. And my position is that the potential for a deliberate, maybe technological trajectory change by the object, that's the absolute critical feature here. It's what could turn a natural cosmic event into something like an intentional signal. That's what we need to watch.
And I come at it from, well, a different way. While the object is definitely getting the headlines, sure, I'd argue that the system-wide planetary alignment and, the cosmic vectors involved, that's the more fundamental, the more powerful event shaping this period. And that holds true kind of regardless of where this visitor came from or what it is.
Okay, well, my position is really that the focus has to be on what happens next, post-perihelion. When an object swings that close to the sun, the gravity gives it this unique opportunity for a really efficient speed change. And the material lays out basically 3 possible outcomes for 3A Atlas's path now. The most interesting one, the one that really jumps out, is the idea it could execute a slight Oberth maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
And just for clarity, right, an Oberth maneuver basically means using the sun's gravity well to get a highly efficient rocket burn. You get a huge change in speed for very little fuel. So the object would need this precise, very brief reverse thrust, just enough to slow down slightly so the sun's gravity can then slingshot it onto a totally different path. And the hypothesis is that this redirection specifically might target the Jupiter system. Ganymede, Callisto, or Europa are mentioned.
Yeah, the perfect places for colonization, as the material puts it.
Exactly, because they have those subsurface oceans shielded by Jupiter's magnetosphere. So this specific potential course correction, especially needing that slight acceleration for a Jupiter trajectory, that to me strongly suggests the object might be, well, alien or technological origin, as the source says. The possibility of conscious intention that makes the object's potential action the defining feature here.
That's certainly the exciting possibility, no doubt, though I'd frame the cause and effect a bit differently. While potential intent is, the headline grabber, the truly unprecedented thing, I think, is the sheer cosmic geometry that's forming. Between January 6th and 10th, 2026, we're talking Mars, Venus, Mercury all lining up on one side of the sun, and then Earth and Jupiter lining up on the other side. The moon's apparently pretty much in this too.
Right.
So 3I Atlas, in this context, it's really just participating in something that's affecting the mechanics of the entire solar system. This specific geometry matters because it shifts the aligned gravitational vectors, yes, but it also fundamentally impacts the whole solar system's electromagnetic circuit. And crucially, the vector, the direction of this alignment, the line drawn through these planets. It lines up exactly with Sagittarius, which is the very zone 3I Atlas was first spotted flying in from. So the geometry is literally pointing back to the door the object came through. And this lines up with its initial vector, with Pluto's position, with the galactic center's gravity energy hub, and even, historically, the origin area of the WOW signal. It suggests a huge, pre-existing cosmic pattern at play here, something much bigger than the intentions of just one visitor, technological or not.
Okay, I see why you'd prioritize the scale, the geometry itself. But let me offer a different perspective on 3 Atlas's role in this, and the sort of tension within the alignment. Look, if 3 Atlas were just a typical space rock, right, a natural object, its path would be totally predictable from gravity alone. Its presence in the alignment, near the ecliptic plane where the planets orbit, would just be, well, a coincidence, a fluke. Very fact that experts are running predictive models that allow for a subtle, non-gravitational change, whether it's that quite severe reverse thrust needed to maybe redirect towards Earth or the slight push needed for Jupiter. That potential for intelligent control makes it the critical, non-natural variable here. If you take away the possibility of intentional action, the geometry is just a rare natural event. But it's 3I Atlas's potential capacity to act upon that geometry that makes the whole scenario unique. It becomes an active participant, not just, a passive bit of cosmic debris floating through.
I'm sorry, but I don't think we should hang the primary significance of what seems to be a profound system-wide mechanical shift on a purely speculative, unobserved maneuver. I mean, if we're focused on the forces being generated in early 2026, we really need to look beyond one single entity. And how reliable, really, are these models predicting an Oberth maneuver? They exist because scientists are actively looking for intention, which, potentially introduces its own bias.
Well, the models are based on physics.
Of course, but the choice to model that specific outcome. Anyway, even if 3 Atlas just follows its perfectly natural path, the geometry still remains incredibly rare and significant. Why? Because of all the other massive alignments happening concurrently, which kind of dwarf the focus on one relatively small visitor. We have to consider the large-scale forces. You've got Uranus and Sedna also in a heliocentric alignment, and Sedna is getting close to its 72-year perihelion in 2076. I mean, that's an enormous orbit. Plus, there's a nearly perfect alignment building between Saturn and Neptune, heading towards their great conjunction in late February 2026. These big conjunctions, they point to a comprehensive shift in the whole solar system's mechanics. Gravitational fields, electromagnetic fields, the whole system is changing.
You're right. The outer planet mechanics are definitely profound. I don't dispute that. But I think you're dismissing the uniqueness of the interstellar object perhaps a bit too easily. The alignments you mentioned, Uranus-Sedna, Saturn-Neptune, they provide this magnificent stage, sure, for a system-wide energetic shift. But 3I Atlas is the unique, the non-native actor stepping onto that stage at the precise moment of maximum tension. Focusing only on the long-term mechanics diminishes the immediate novelty of this specific geometry, which is defined by the inner planets in Jupiter. And the inclusion of Jupiter in this 2026 inner system alignment, that's key. It brings the strongest magnetic field in the solar system, besides the sun itself, into play. When Earth's and Jupiter's magnetic fields align, even loosely, it creates a much stronger, more efficient channel for solar energy transfer, for gravitational influence. And that's where 3I Atlas's potential action becomes so significant. If it actually uses that aligned gravitational field to efficiently target the Jupiter system, well, that would confirm it recognizes and is actively exploiting the geometry itself.
Stepping back, though, we do have historical context for the impact of this type of rare planetary geometry, and this supports my point that the geometry itself holds the real causal power.
Okay.
Think about the Carrington event. September 3rd, 1859. Strongest solar storm impact ever recorded on Earth, right? Caused chaos with the early telegraph systems. Well, it coincided with what was described at the time as a sacred geometry alignment. Earth, Mercury, Sun, Venus, Mars, and Saturn. That event shows pretty clearly that the geometry itself can precede and, you could say, predict massive energetic events here on Earth.
We have a clear historical precedent suggesting the cosmic mechanism drives the outcome.
That is a compelling point, absolutely. The Carrington alignment is a strong benchmark for geometric power, but let's look closer at the precision difference. You mentioned the 1859 geometry was called, what, a little bit of a bent line, and it involves Saturn?
Right.
The 2026 alignment, though, is described as very precise. That speaks to the magnitude of the gravitational and magnetic alignment. And crucially, it includes Jupiter, the system's heavyweight gravitationally and magnetically, instead of the much lighter Saturn. That precision likely increases the potential impact. But more importantly, I have to come back to this: the unique contribution of 3I Atlas, an interstellar, non-native object participating in this specific high-precision geometry that elevates the significance beyond those historical parallels. This specific combination is something entirely new. If the geometry is the sole driver, why are experts spending valuable time modeling the tiny accelerations and decelerations needed for an intentional course change? That possibility fundamentally shifts the premise from a passive event to an interactive one.
I'd still argue the models are largely a function of scientific curiosity, the search for techno-signatures, rather than a prediction of what will happen. The geometry's power is intrinsic, it's measurable. Including Jupiter means we're looking at a precise magnetic alignment that could generate a colossal electromagnetic shockwave if solar activity spikes just like 1859, potentially much stronger. The fact that the 1859 alignment, even being just a bent line, caused such havoc, that suggests the geometry itself is the potent force. We risk, missing the forest for the trees if we obsess over one small speculative maneuver by this one object.
Mm.
And I'd argue the geometry's true depth, its profundity, is really revealed when you look at its alignment with these cosmological and maybe archetypal centers. This makes the object's specific origin almost irrelevant to the event's overall power. The material hints this could be seen as a kind of spiritual and technological crossroads.
How so?
We'll look at the setup. Jupiter is sitting right at the end of Gemini, the constellation often associated with technology, communication, analytical thought. Meanwhile, the alignment vector, that line running through the system, points directly to Sagittarius, which is often linked with exploration, free will, higher learning, philosophy. So you have this profound confluence. And add to that, the vector points straight towards the Milky Way's gravitational and energy center. It suggests that geometry itself is framing a massive, system-wide question. How will our technology and analysis help or maybe hinder our collective spiritual direction and our exploration of the galaxy? That question seems baked right into the alignment itself.
I'm not entirely convinced by that line of reasoning, primarily because this powerful archetypal crossroads idea, it seems to need 3 Atlas to be complete. The geometry cuts right through the zone where 3 Atlas first appeared, right? If it wasn't there, if it wasn't participating, the geometry would just be a rare, energetic, natural event. Maybe like Carrington again. Powerful, yes, but lacking that interpretive weight. Its participation, especially given its non-native, possibly technological nature, that acts as the final necessary clue. It provides the empirical anchor, you could say, for your archetypal interpretation. The cosmic pattern might be set, the stage built, fine, but the active involvement of an interstellar object is the confirmation signal we might need, suggesting this moment isn't just energetic, but potentially intentional in its timing, its path, its potential target, and the fact it might be aiming for those shielded, water-rich Jupiter moons. That hints the intention could be deeply tied to the system's protective qualities, which would be a profound confirmation of the alignment's deeper purpose, wouldn't you say?
I'd say the object is maybe a signpost, yeah, or perhaps a validation, but it's not the generator of the event's power. That's the core disagreement here, I think. If the alignment vector points back to its entry point in Sagittarius and towards the galactic core, then the object might just be following a pre-existing cosmic track, like a ship following a current. If it chooses to maneuver, okay, that's like placing a technological marker on the map. But the map itself, the gravitational field lines, the magnetic circuits, that was drawn by the planetary geometry. And the sheer scale of the other alignments, Saturn-Neptune, Uranus-Sedna, confirms the whole system is undergoing a massive mechanical reset. That seems far more critical, ultimately, than one object potentially burning a little fuel.
Okay, so to summarize my position, the potential for 3 Atlas to perform an Oberth maneuver, a trajectory change we could probably detect maybe around late November, early December, that is the defining feature for me. We absolutely must track the object's actions. They hold the key to understanding if this is just a rare, powerful alignment or something far more deliberate, maybe technological, especially concerning that potential Jupiter system target for colonization or sustained exploration. That hint of intentionality is the novelty, and that's the primary focus heading into early 2026.
And conversely, from my perspective, the extreme rarity of the system-wide geometry itself, that precise opposition between the inner planets and heavyweights like Earth and Jupiter, combined with its alignment to the galactic center and its strong echo of historical energy events like Carrington. That confirms the fundamental significance lies in the cosmic forces being generated by this arrangement. 3I Atlas's participation, it provides powerful validation, sure, confirming the geometry's importance, but it isn't the source of the event's power, nor the primary driver of its overall significance.
We certainly agree, though, that we're looking at a period of pretty extreme energetic significance in early 2026. The material really pushes us to consider where our focus should lie, on the individual entity, possibly technological, and its immediate potential actions.
Or on the overarching cosmic mechanism that's setting the stage for system-wide change, especially with that big Saturn-Neptune conjunction building momentum right behind it towards the end of February 2026.
And with that, we'll leave it to our listeners to consider which aspect holds the greater key to understanding this really extraordinary event unfolding in our solar system's near future.